Okay, so the next photo that I'm going to edit is a maternity photo taken at the beach. The horizon line is not straight, so I'm going to show you how you would rotate a photo to straighten it out if maybe you took an image and it's slightly askew. And then we'll crop to get rid of any dead space around that is created by us rotating the image. But one of the corners, maybe you can't quite crop, so we'll fill that extra space. I'll show you how to do that and how to patch any background distractions. And lastly, do some color adjustments, both on the automatic settings that Photoshop offers, as well as some custom options that you have for playing around with the color and the contrast of an image. This photo is straight out of the camera. What I would like to do to it is bump up the color a little bit and rotate it so that horizon line is straight, because that bothers me. So I'll show you how to do that. So again, whenever I need to move the top layer, I always make a copy of it. So again, right click, duplicate the layer. Great, so now I can move that around. There's two different ways that you can rotate this image so that that horizon line is straight. The first thing I always want to do is drag a guide down. So if you click on the ruler here, it's up at the top where it gives you all the dimensions of your file, click there and just drag. It'll create this guideline. I'll put that right around the horizon line, and you can see it's definitely not straight. If you do this and your guide disappears, you'll have to go in and click Show, View, Show, Guides. Sometimes that gets turned off or it isn't on when you first open the program, so you want to see the guide, so this won't happen. So I tend to use transform to rotate my photo. You can do that with a crop tool, but if you go to transform here, it's actually free transform, which is this one here. And again, there's a short code, so that's a really easy, quick way to do it. And this is not going to crop the image, it is just going to rotate and resize. Resizing would be with this symbol that pops up, the diagonal line or the vertical line or the horizontal line at these markers on the side and top and corners. The rotate is the quarter circle with the little arrows. So that's going to be your rotate. And that's what I'll do first. And I'm just lining this up with my guidelines so that the horizon is straight. Okay, so that's perfect. Press enter to accept that change. And then I'm going to turn off the background so that I can see where I'm missing media, where I'm missing part of my photo. And since I rotated it and created some dead space. Not a problem. That's when I come in and use the crop tool. And for this, I'm going to use original ratio because I just want to clean this up so that it doesn't have this blank space. However, if for some reason, like if this little boy's head was higher and we were going to risk, cutting through it, if we come in, you could always leave that space, and I'll show you how to clean that up. So say I like this, okay, I just have this little issue of some missing material in the corner. So I can press enter to accept this crop. My horizon's straight. And I can come in with usually I use the lasso tool for this, and select this corner. And we'll go ahead and do a content aware fill again. Same thing we did before, but it's a different space, but that's pretty seamless, especially with a sky like this where there's not a lot of detail. That's a really easy extension or fix of, chopped off corner. Another thing that I see, the patch tool is good for this. Zoom in so you can see this. Little background distractions. This surfer, swimmer. You can select them. And just move this over to a space that's very similar. That's clicking, dragging, letting go, and it will automatically do a similar content aware fill. You could use your lasso and do the content aware fill. There's so many different ways to do the same thing, but that one's real quick and easy if it's small. Things like down here, same. These little impressions in the sand, if they're causing a distraction, I can just select them with my lasso and get rid of them. This one probably bothers me the most. Let's see what happens here. So you can keep doing that till you're content with what it looks like. Dark, okay. So then we have a nice straightened image. Background distractions are gone. I fixed that corner. I like to make another copy from here. So I press Control J, or you can right click here and duplicate the layer. That way, this is how I revert back to previous steps. Say I do something that I end up not liking and I want to go back to, it's an easy way. There are some other ways to do it, but that's how I found myself keeping track of my different steps. So from here, I can edit the image with the adjustment tool. So if you go to image, auto tone, you can play around and see what that does. And to me, this, this made them pop, but it did make the background a little less vibrant. There are ways to mask so that you are showing, say the layer below for the sky that's a little more vibrant, and keeping them, the people from this layer. I'm going to undo that so you can see the next change. I'm back on that copied layer. Auto contrast, we'll do something different. Okay, so I like that better as a quick auto fix. And auto color, again, it's kind of going to wash out that background. So if you want to start with auto contrast, that's one way to change your image as far as the overall appearance. There are ways to do this manually as well. And that would be in the adjustments. Lots of different things, the brightness and contrast, levels, curves. I do use curves a bit. We can see what that will do for this photo. So dragging this tool around, you see it changes different areas of the photo. Darks might get darker without your brights getting darker. Depends what you do, where you move this. Cancel that. I'm going to do color balance. They're a bit red. I don't want to bump this up too much. So that's one way to adjust the color. The other way would be through the hue and saturation or vibrance. And that's actually, the vibrance is mostly what I want. That just kind of bumps up the colors a little bit. It does have saturation in there too. You don't want to get too crazy because when you have people, skin tones get affected very quickly, especially by the saturation. So I can reset that to 0 and work on the vibrance. I'll just kind of like add a little, you can barely see it, but it is adding just a little pump of color the higher it gets. There we go. So we had, this was the beginning, and this is where we're at now. Okay. So we definitely added some contrast, bumped up that color, and get rid of this line so you can see the whole image. There's definitely some other things I would do this photo, but this is the basic. Removing the background distraction. Straightening the image for the horizon. So to review with that image, we basically just rotated it so that horizon line was straight, got rid of those background distractions, including filling the corner that was left open with the crop, and adjusted the color. And with that color, you can play all around with that. There's so many different things that you can do. We get into layers and painting that those changes on and off the different layers so that you can adjust one portion of the image at a time instead of the image as a whole. Obviously, I did the whole image. If we bump up the oranges and reds so that that sunset is a little more vibrant, we're going to get that in the face as well. So if you're working on an image with a background and human subjects and you don't want that to happen, then you can start getting into layers and masking. And that would be the next step from there. But these are just the basics to adjust an image that might be a little bit, need a little help. And I hope that helps you.